Hey guys, welcome back. And today we get into another function of logical sets. We look into a logical function which is more related to and or. That's why I'm showing this function so that you can relate it with the new function that we are going to do today. So today we look at XOR function, that is XOR. Yeah. So SOR function returns a logical exclusive OR all of all arguments. So the function returns true if an odd number of the supplied conditions evaluate to true and false otherwise. I'll tell you. So I'll show you with an example by which you will be able to easily understand what do you mean by XOR. Yeah. Again, it has uh, first we look at the syntax. So it is XOR open brackets. Then you have the list of logical values, and you can add up to 255 different logical values that has to be evaluated, whether it is true or false. Yeah. So a list of logical values that has to be evaluated. Now XOR or exclusive OR, yeah, logical operation returns true if one of two supplied conditions evaluate to true. It can be thought of as either A or B, but not A and B both. So when there is just one condition or when there are more than two conditions, the exclusive OR operations evaluates to true if an odd number of conditions evaluate to true. Let me show you what do I mean by odd numbers of conditions. Yeah, suppose I have this condition is equal to this equals to electronics. This is true? Yes. This is true. You can see since it is electronics, it is showing as true. But if I move it to home goods, it will state as false. Okay. Let me use some other condition. Is equal to this is greater than equals to 100. Yeah. So it is true. Let me see further. Yes, it is true. The third one here, it is less than 100. Hence, it is showing me false. Okay, so far so good. So wherever it is electronics, it is showing me true, or else it is showing me false. Yeah. Same way, if the quantity is greater than 100 or equal to 100, it is showing as true, or it will show me false. Okay. Let me see if both of my condition where there is false. Okay. Here is a condition where both are false. Yes. So here the category is books and the quantity is less than greater than equals to 100. Okay. Usually if you get into an or, so if I say or of these two conditions, true, comma, true, it will give me true. Either of this are one, if you remember, going back to my or function in my previous video, you'll find if any of the conditions are true, then or condition will evaluate to true. Yeah, so you can see one of the condition is true, hence it is giving me the or value as true. But if I evaluate for false, where both of them are false, it will evaluate to false. So in order to get a false condition for or function, both the values or both the outputs of the condition has to be false. Okay. Now let's see what do you mean by XOR? What is the output? So what XOR says is that when there is just one condition or when there are more than two conditions, the exclusive or XOR operation evaluates to true if an odd number of conditions are true. So if you see odd number, this is 2. So this should give you false. Why? Because odd number of conditions are not true. Can see this is false because this is 2. Yeah. So if I count this, no, not some, this true, there are 2 trues. So the value of number of true conditions are 2. If here true is 1, this is 1, and this is 2. Yeah. So if an odd number of conditions evaluate to true, then it will give you a true. So let's see for next condition, it is giving me true because odd number, this is 1, only one uh, condition is true, right? Same way for next, only one condition is true. Let's see for last. Yeah, both the conditions are false, hence it has evaluated to 2. Yeah, so it is rather 0. 0 is nothing. Yeah, let's try to add a complexity to it. Okay, as I said, it has to be a odd number of conditions has to be fulfilled. So if I say this equals to, if this is greater than equals to 2000. Yeah, and let's pull out these conditions, this condition for all the 4 rows that we have selected. Now let's add the third condition to it, comma, I'll say this one. Yeah, so how many are true? Yeah, there are 2 number of statements that are true. Here again, there are 2 number of statements that are true. There are 2 number of statements that are true. Yeah, hence XOR gives you a false because these are even count. This is not an odd count. Same way, false, this is there are no conditions which are true, hence it is giving you false. But if an odd number of conditions are true, so suppose this was 1500 was greater than 2000, so make it 3500. Yeah, you will find it has this 3 conditions has evaluated to true. Yeah, that means there is an odd number of true statements. So there are three true statements, which is an odd number. Hence, it is evaluated to true. Whereas wherein other statements, the number of true conditions are in odd numbers. So these are 2 again. Yeah, again in this condition it is true. So if I suppose I make this condition as well true, it will evaluate to true. So XOR will evaluate to true only when number of the count of true conditions output is true, and that too in odd number. So even number of true statements will give the output as false. Odd number of true statements will give you the output as true. So if you need to be very careful that if an array reference argument contain text or empty cell, those values will be ignored. Okay, there are few things that you need to be very careful of. Yeah, if the specified ranges contain no logical value, yeah, XOR will return a value error. Yeah, so you need to be careful of that as well. If you type in a wrong statement or if you do not type it properly, then it may give you a name error because the function itself will not be able to recognize your output. Yeah. So you need to be keeping this thing in mind that XOR will evaluate, that is exclusive or will evaluate to true only if the count of true conditions in your statement is in odd number. Either it is 1, it is 3, So suppose I make this 2 false. So I'll show you that as well. So if I make this 2 false, you see this? It is evaluated to true. But if I make one of them as true, and you can see it has evaluated to an even number of true statements, hence it has got evaluated to false. Yeah. So simple logic of XOR is you need to see that the conditions in XOR statements are evaluated to true or false, and the count of true statement has to be in an odd number. Yeah. Hope I was able to make the concept clear regarding XOR. Hope you like this video. Do like it, share it across with your colleagues who want to learn Excel. Comment if you want me to cover any of the topics in this 365 days of Excel journey. And yes, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, because that's how you're going to get notification about any future videos that I upload on YouTube. And yes, that will also keep me motivated towards creating such free content. Yeah. Thank you so much.